I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Upper Dublin School District Education Committee meeting. My name is Stu Warschauer. I am filling in for Ms. Sherpier, who could not be here tonight. I'd like to start with to all students and staff and families. I hope it's been a great first month of school. Good luck to the students that will be taking the PSATs tomorrow. And I will pass it over to Ms. Drennan, our Assistant Superintendent, for any announcements.
There are no announcements this evening, but we do have an implementation update planned on illustrative mathematics for grades K through 5.
Our next agenda item is to approve the minutes from our September 4th, 2024 Education Committee meeting. Other members of the committee had a chance to review. Any questions? Okay, great. We'll move those on. Which brings us to our next agenda item, which is the implementation update with Ms. Drennan.
Thank you. Ms. Evans is going to run the presentation for us. We are in our first year of illustrative mathematics implementation at all elementary schools. So we'll run you through just how the first month of implementation has gone, beginning with an eye on instruction. So the illustrative mathematics program is being implemented in all elementary schools, and instruction began in math on day 2 of the school year. It was a heavy lift for our teachers and new routines for our students to learn, but they reacted and responded very well. Instruction occurs for 70 to 80 minutes per day, depending on the grade level, and most of the grade levels have covered the first unit. Teachers have reflected that the program's had a very positive impact, and initial student data looks very good, exceeding expectation on the first unit assessment, but we don't have a lot of quantitative data at this point, and we'll give you a future update on how students are progressing around the benchmark time. Classrooms have shifted in the model of instruction and what they look like. So if you were to walk into a math classroom at any elementary school, you would see a lot of student-centered discussion and problem solving in small groups. So the structure allows for student talk, the sharing of ideas, the challenging of ideas with their classmates, and they're challenged to probe, challenge, and then provide evidence of their thinking. The model for the teacher has shifted as well because they facilitate the structure for student talk, but then they allow space for the students to have those conversations. So it's not a Q&A back and forth. They pose questions about what students can observe, what they have questions about, and turn it over to students to make meaning. So they'll confer with students so that students are probed and pressed to re-clarify something or go deeper on their thinking. And then they use student work examples to turn that around as a model for the classroom. In terms of professional development and support, since this is such a shift in instruction, each unit that is about to begin has a preview session so that the coaches and the University of Delaware literally unpacks each unit, its content, and then works to clarify the strategies that teachers will use when instructing in that unit. Those teachers, one from each grade level from each elementary school, then do that as a turnaround training for their colleagues during collab time, and that's been really beneficial. Teachers have an opportunity to ask questions and get support from others who were pilot teachers last year. The coaches are actively communicating with staff regularly through newsletters and little tricks and tips for the trade when they are instructing illustrative math. And last week we began administrative walkthroughs where administrators and supervisors are going into classrooms to kind of see and norm what we're expecting and looking for regarding student thinking being made public, students engaging with others' thinking, and student sense making through asking questions, using reasoning and evidence to justify their answers. University of Delaware and our special education team is going to have a meeting and a professional development coming up to plan for how best to support students who have additional needs in the math classroom. So the next few minutes, we're going to spend looking at what this looks like through a few videos in the classroom. The first set of videos are very short. They will show how students were challenged to find different ways to show an array in a classroom. So the first two videos will show the students working through that. The third one will be of the teacher responding to the students who are working. Or can you go back to the first of the three and let it play out? So these girls are trying to figure out how to have an array of a 6 by 5. You'll notice that, I know it's difficult to hear, you'll notice that they had a differing opinion on how to accomplish that. And so one of the classmates kind of corrects the thinking of the other, and they work together to figure it out. I'm not sure about there's no volume that's louder. Okay. So the next video would have been two boys approaching the same task.
6 rows, and then we should put 5 on each row. Like that. And we keep doing it.
6 rows of 5. Good job, guys. You are on the ball. 6 rows of 5.
And the third video will show you how the teacher then prompts and guides their thinking.
Your array? Okay, Emerson, explain it to me.
So each row, I try to find 5
There's 6 rows and there's 5 in it. Charlotte, so if you guys have 6 rows and there's 5 in each row, do you think you guys can tell me the total number of that product? 50. How many, Charlotte?
I'm just kind of trying to count out. We have 20 here.
Great.
We need 4 more.
Join us. I love it. I love it.
So those videos lay the groundwork for multiplication and students developing number sense. The next video is a little different. Another component of the IM program is students working at vertical whiteboards to work out a task. And then the teachers go back and use that student evidence to drive the next part of instruction, which helps to validate student thinking and also address, as a whole group, misconceptions and perceptions of what the answer could be. So this slide shows what the learning task was, and it was regarding money. So there was an initial task about how many combinations could be made for money that was in the wallet, and then there's a challenge task for students who are able to complete that quickly. They get to reach and challenge themselves for the next. So you'll see a little bit of that work, and hopefully you can hear that on the next slide.
Hi friends, I have Ben and Jillian at the board, and currently they have been showing their work. Can you explain one of your combinations here?
Okay, so this one did $1.98. We drew $1, and then we did 3 quarters.
3 quarters.
And that equaled $1.98.
Interesting. Ben, do you agree with that? Does that equal $1.98? All right, now can you tell me now, Ben, what did you do for number 2?
So we did $1.52 for number 2, and so we did $1.50, adding these 2.25 cents.
Oh, so 2.25
Yeah.
quarters, okay.
And then we added 2 ones to that, and we got $1.52.
Okay, can you explain to me how $1.98 and $1.52 fit for your problem?
Because it's under $2, but it's higher than 85 cents.
Interesting.
Try to get as close as possible without doing $1.
So you were trying to get as close as possible to what?
To 2, but $1.99 is just
Actually, $1.98. How far away is that from $2? What? 2 cents. Interesting. Thank you. Thank you, friends.
So that gives you a little example of what it looks like in an illustrative math classroom and how it may be different from how many of us learned math. So because it's such a big shift, we're mindful of the need to help parents and families continue to understand this model and engage in it so they can be helpful to their own students. And we began the year with information tables at back to school night at each of the elementary schools. Dr. Smith and I were present at each one of the elementary schools, and there was a line forming of parents who wanted to learn more about IM, so that was really encouraging. And we have a monstrous math night planned for K-5 families, that's students with their parents, on October 29th at Sandy Run Middle School. And there'll be an overview of the program provided, and then breakout activities that parents and families can do along with their students that evening. In terms of the continued implementation, we began with professional development in August, and that will go all the way through our professional development times in March. We're going to continue that previewing session prior to each unit so that teachers are ready and feel amply prepared to deliver instruction each unit as it arises. And the University of Delaware is, of course, continuing support. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to break out into new conversations about how best to support special education students. And the walkthroughs for the admins are going to continue, and we're going to move from norming to providing additional feedback to instructors as we complete those walkthroughs. There are coaching opportunities for any teacher who wishes to make an appointment with a coach. All of our coaches are deeply invested in the implementation. And then we'll have our benchmark window in the winter and the spring to kind of monitor the implementation and ensure that our students are growing. So this is a big undertaking for the district. I definitely think it's worth mentioning that Mr. Mishner and Mrs. Pouste have been really invested and forward thinking in the way to support this implementation so that students and teachers thrive.
Thank you, Ms. Drennan. I'd like to open it to the committee, board members for comments, questions about the implementation update. Mr. L.
So thank you so much for this presentation. I know with it, being early days, it's really helpful to sort of see how it's going, get the reactions from the students, from the teachers, from parents as well. I didn't know there was a monstrous math night. I don't know if costumes are required for that evening or not, but I will not be wearing one. I did notice in the video some of my son's classmates as well, and I wish they were as well behaved when they visit my house as they were in that video. So I did want to ask, I know, Julian, you mentioned early on, it's too early for any kind of quantitative data, but could you share a little more about when we might expect to see some, what it might look like, and is it something that we can compare to the previous curriculum to see sort of impact we're making?
I think we have our benchmarks that are outside of illustrative math, which is helpful because it's a different, vendor providing that feedback. We always have the unit assessments that students will take, but the benchmarks are a little bit different because they are based on end of year. And so you'll be able to see across the year what the student growth is. I think anytime you implement a new program, there's a concern about an implementation dip. We don't have that concern right now. I think teachers reflectively were happily surprised at how well students did in the first few assessments that are being given. But I think probably the two things that will tell us whether this was, success or not in its first year will be the benchmarks and then PSSAs, really.
Other comments and questions from committee members? Ms. Iannetti.
I'm just wondering if you've gotten feedback from families about homework that's connected to the illustrative math?
So it's interesting because the way that illustrative math is built, the authors are confident that additional work outside of the classroom may not be necessary. However, I think there are some things in the transition from an old program to a new, where there could be some gaps that need to be shored up over time, and so homework might be an avenue for that. The teachers have asked for guidance on illustrative math homework. The district has not yet provided a blanket statement about that, but I think in the first year of navigating, we're smart to tell teachers to give homework as needed based on the skills and needs of their students.
First a comment and then a question. Just a comment, I just applaud the effort. I know illustrative math, it really seeks to build conceptual understanding. So seeing students work with manipulatives and have conversations, I think is a great direction for math writ large. I would like to know a little bit more about when you implement a new curriculum, there are always going to be students that have some learning gaps from previous years. Is there a mechanism within illustrative math, or is there a supplementary program that the elementary school teachers are using to target those gaps?
I don't know if Mrs. Pousset wants to weigh in at all, because you were here for the planning of it.
So with illustrative, it has an entry point for all students. So when you're having those conversations about whatever that skill might be that they're teaching for that day, there's always an entry point for all of our students, whether they've mastered the concept or have not mastered the concept yet. So when we're doing that, our students are sharing the strategies that they're using in order to find that answer. Now, within center time, that's our time to really be working with our students based on maybe some of the gaps that they're having, or to kind of push or enrich our students that really do understand the concepts that are there. So centers are built into all of our grade level math time. So some of our students may be working at centers, independently, and then some students may be working with the teacher on certain things that they need maybe some tightening up on for math skill concepts.
Do you utilize IXL? Is there like an independent program that?
Not at the elementary level.
Okay.
Not at this time, no.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from board members? All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Drennan, for the presentation. Our next agenda item is our Education Committee reports and recommendations, starting with conferences for staff. I'm just going to pause for a second, let folks bring that up. Any questions or comments from the committee and or the board? Okay, we can move those forward. Student activities for this month. Give everybody a moment. Looks like we have a baseball and a lacrosse event for students. Any questions, comments? All right, we good to move that on? Okay, great. This brings us to our next agenda item, which is public participation. A reminder, public participation is reserved for residents and taxpayers of the Upper Dublin School District. When you approach the mic, please state your name and your city of residence, and or affirm that you are a taxpayer in the district before addressing the board.
Yes, my name is Ken Hall, resident over 50 years with the township, 2 children through the system, 2 grandchildren through the system, former substitute teacher, here to discuss your substitute teacher system. As a background, I practiced law for 40 years, retired, substituted in Philadelphia for 6 years, came to the township, and worked here at Wissahickon School District. I left the township. I am currently substitute teaching over at Wissahickon School District. There are 3 things that I think you should consider in hiring substitutes. Number 1 is you have a waiting period. That waiting period's 30 days, all right? Understood. Everybody works it. Once a person works the 30 days, next school year, you make them work 30 days to get to the top rater again. You're starting all over again, all right? I've got a friend here, Debbie Steinberg, excellent teacher, retired. She works a half day. She not only has to work 30 days, but she's got to work 60 days, and she starts each year. Dependable employee. She works the afternoons. And if you know substitute teachers when you need them, afternoons are when you really need them. So you've got one issue, that 30 days. You should, once a person completes that and works an established number of days, you can establish that. But once they reach that point, they should not have to work 30 more days. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I'm talking really fast. So you have the 30-day working period. The second thing, and I'm also speaking on behalf of other teachers who I see on a daily basis at Wissahickon School District. Why are they not coming back to Upper Dublin? Besides the first thing, which is the 30-day waiting period and having to start all over again, you've got Kelly systems. I can tell you, they're horrible. We have, over at Wissahickon, we have SDS. You can talk to a live person there. When I was dealing with Kelly, I had to send emails. I could not talk to a live person. Very, very frustrating. I mean, that's just one thing. The third thing is your rate of pay. You are seriously behind in your rate of pay. I'm getting $170 a day at Wissahickon. I have no waiting period, retired. I go away, I ski 4 months in the wintertime. That's my winter vacation. I go away for 4 months. I come back, I'm at the same rate of pay. And I put enough days in that I don't have to worry about working 20 or 30 days. But you've got three things that you really should consider, because I think you are missing valuable substitutes. People that I know, that I see on a daily basis, one's a teacher, retired from Los Angeles. Another one's a vice principal, retired, okay? Another guy, he's got his doctorate, not in education, but in like photojournalism. So you are missing a lot of top-notch people. I'm not here anymore. I don't see the quality of the subs that you're getting, but I know there's a shortage of subs. So you've got to consider these three things. As I said, I am committed to this township. I paid taxes for over 50 years to this township. I love the educational system, but, there is some value into having decent subs take care of your children. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Floor is still open for public participation. Just a little closer to the mic.
My name is Joan Cohen. Should I tell you my address? Oh, yeah, I live in Upper Dublin. And when I graduated college, my parents moved to Upper Dublin. And then when I was married, I moved to Upper Dublin in '88. And my 3 children went to Jarrowtown. And then the Sandy Run in the high school, and now my grandchildren are in the high school. So, and I'm a substitute, and I have, I have a degree in teaching. I also have a PhD, which is irrelevant. But anyway, I'm not sure if it sounded clear about the 30-day waiting period that we do every year. We wait 30 days to get a raise in our salary. So our salaries start Monday at 140, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 130, and Friday at 150. But then after 30 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday all become 140, and Friday stays at 150. So the point I think that the substitutes are trying to make is from day one, we should be making more money. We shouldn't have to wait 30 days to get a raise. And your pay scale is behind other districts like Wissahickon. I think you said they get 170 a day, so a lot of people don't want to sub in Upper Dublin. I want to sub in Upper Dublin because I live here and I'm near all the schools, and I just like the schools, and I've been attached to them for so long. I don't really want to leave, but I think it would be fair if you didn't have this 30-day waiting period, or you became even more competitive with other school districts in your salary, so that we could be making what they're paying other subs in other districts. Was that clear? Okay.
Thank you. Seeing nobody else approaching the mic, I will close public participation and offer an opportunity for administration or board members to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Warschauer. First and foremost, I'd like to say on behalf of the district, we absolutely appreciate our substitutes and the quality that you bring to our students. We have been very impressed with the quality of our subs, and I'm pleased to share with the board our fill rates are pretty impressive, and I believe we have been satisfied with Kelly Systems as well in terms of the ability to help us staff. We have shared with our board previously what our pay rates are. We're certainly open to considering changes if the board wants to do that in the future. But given our pay rates, our fill rates right now, and there are other districts in the county that also have a similar structure to us, we're not recommending a change right now, but certainly should the board want to entertain that for the future, we can. But again, very much appreciate the service that you provide to our students.
Board members?
I mean, I think in order to have that conversation, we'd have to get a little more granular on data. I'd be interested in hearing about not just Wissahickon, but to your point, what other districts are paying, and again, if it's possible to know whether our fill rates are competitive. So it's certainly a conversation. I'll just speak for myself. I'm willing to have. I'm sort of at a lack of data to have it at this point.
I'd be curious too about the 30-day waiting period, and if that's common in neighboring districts, and if it's possible to just do that the first time, and if people work a certain number of days in a year, that they maybe could be exempt from that the following year. It seems like kind of making people jump through hoops over and over and over again.
Unfortunately, no, because we've closed the opportunity for public participation, and now's an opportunity for the board and the administration to either offer comments or discuss amongst ourselves. But we do appreciate the comments that were offered earlier.
If I'm reading the room correctly, it sounds like there is enough consensus around just wanting some more information so that we can make an informed decision should we want to make a change. Thank you. All right, our next agenda item is regarding upcoming meetings and Sunshine Act announcements. Our next Education Committee meeting is Wednesday, November 6th, 2024 at 6 p.m. And I don't believe I have any other announcements in that regard. So I will move us to adjournment. Thank you, everyone.